From intense love affairs with Pier Angeli and Ursula Andress to rumored gay relationships, James Dean's personal life was as turbulent as his meteoric rise to fame. He lived life in the fast lane, both literally and figuratively. On September 30th, 1955, his need for speed culminated in a fatal crash in his Porsche Spyder. Was it merely an accident, or did the little bastard carry a sinister curse? Discover the shocking details of what really happened to the iconic star of Rebel Without a Cause. James Dean had a childhood marked by both warmth and tragedy. Born in Marion, Indiana in 1931, he was the only child of Mildred Marie Wilson and Winton Dean. Young Dean's family life was disrupted when his father left farming behind to become a dental technician, leading to their move to Santa Monica, California, when Dean was just 6 years old. In California, Dean lived in the Brentwood neighborhood and attended Brentwood Public School before transferring to McKinley Elementary. During this time, he formed a close bond with his mother, who seemed to be the only person who truly understood him. However, tragedy struck when Dean was 9 years old. His mother fell ill with stomach pains and rapidly lost weight, ultimately succumbing to uterine cancer. Dean was devastated by the loss of his mother, who had been his confidant and biggest supporter. His father, unable to cope with the grief and the responsibility of raising a young son alone, sent Dean to live with his aunt and uncle, Hortense and Marcus Winslow, on their farm in Fairmount, Indiana. The Winslows, devout Quakers, provided a stable and loving home for young Dean, but the loss of his mother left a lasting impact. He often turned to acting and performing as an outlet for his emotions, expressing himself through theater and school plays. As a teenager, James Dean found a mentor in the local Methodist pastor, Reverend James DeWeerd. They shared a close bond that fueled Dean's interest in bullfighting, car racing, and theater. However, this relationship has been the subject of much speculation, with some suggesting they both get physical. Despite the rumors surrounding his friendship with DeWeerd, Dean excelled in school and was well liked by his peers. He was a star athlete, participating in baseball and basketball, and he also shone in drama and public speaking competitions. After graduating from Fairmount High School in 1949, Dean returned to California to live with his father and stepmother. He started his college career at Santa Monica College, focusing on pre-law, but his passion for acting eventually led him to transfer to UCLA, where he changed his major to drama. This decision caused friction with his father, who disapproved of his artistic aspirations. Dean even pledged to the Sigma Nu fraternity, but was never initiated, further highlighting his outsider status. At UCLA, Dean's talent was evident, and he was chosen out of 350 actors to play Malcolm in a production of Macbeth. He also joined James Whitmore's acting workshop, further honing his skills. But Dean's ambition couldn't be contained within the walls of academia. In 1951, he dropped out of UCLA to pursue his dream of becoming a full-time actor. James Dean's first taste of the limelight came in a Pepsi commercial, where his boyish charm and good looks caught the eye of viewers. Emboldened by this small success, he decided to ditch college and dive headfirst into his acting career. His first speaking role came in the form of John the Apostle in Hill No. 1, an Easter television special that dramatized the resurrection of Jesus. Dean's early acting gigs weren't all glamorous. He even worked as a parking lot attendant at CBS Studios, a humble job that allowed him to stay connected to the entertainment industry. It was during this time that he met Rogers Brackett, a radio director who took Dean under his wing. Brackett offered him professional guidance, a place to stay, and even helped him land his first starring role on Broadway in the play See the Jaguar. In 1951, Dean appeared in another television production, Alias Jane Doe, produced by his mentor Brackett. Later that year, he moved to New York City, following the advice of actor James Whitmore and Brackett. There, he tried his hand at being a stunt tester for the game show, Beat the Clock, but was fired for being too quick and efficient at completing the tasks. Talk about overachieving. Undeterred, Dean continued to pursue his acting dreams. He landed roles in several CBS television series, including The Web, Studio One, and Lux Video Theater. He even gained admission to the prestigious Actors Studio, where he studied method acting under the legendary Lee Strasberg. This was a pivotal moment in Dean's career, as he honed his craft and developed the intense and emotional acting style that would become his signature. In 1952, he secured a small, non-speaking role in the film Deadline, USA, starring Humphrey Bogart. It was another small step towards his ultimate goal of becoming a leading man, and he was determined to make the most of every opportunity that came his way. Thrilled with his acceptance into the prestigious Actors Studio, James Dean wrote home to his family, proudly proclaiming, "I have made great strides in my craft. Very few get into it. It is the best thing that can happen to an actor." He was rubbing elbows with the likes of Marlon Brando, Julie Harris, and other acting giants, further solidifying his commitment to the craft. Dean's career started to gain momentum as he landed roles in various television shows in the early 1950s. He appeared in episodes of Kraft Television Theater, Robert Montgomery Presents, the United States Steel Hour, Danger, and General Electric Theater. One memorable role was in the CBS series Omnibus, where he played a disaffected youth, a character type he would later embody in his iconic film Rebel Without a Cause. This episode even featured the rock and roll song Crazy Man, Crazy, marking one of the first times the genre was incorporated into a dramatic TV show. Dean's stage performance as Pier, a flirtatious homosexual houseboy, in an adaptation of The Immoralist, garnered rave reviews and caught the attention of Hollywood casting directors. During the production, he also had a passionate affair with actress Geraldine Page, a relationship that left a lasting impact on her. Her daughter, Angelica Page, recalled how her mother never truly got over Dean, even keeping pictures of him in her dressing room years later. Angelica described them as artistic soulmates, highlighting the deep connection they shared. In 1953, director Elia Kazan was on the hunt for an actor who could bring the complex and troubled character of Cal Trask to life in the film adaptation of John Steinbeck's novel, East of Eden. The story delves into the lives of two families, the Trasks and the Hamiltons, spanning generations and exploring themes of love, loss, and the struggle between good and evil. Kazan wanted someone with a raw and intense energy, similar to Marlon Brando, and screenwriter Paul Osborne suggested James Dean, a young and relatively unknown actor. Dean met with Steinbeck himself, who wasn't impressed with the young actor's brooding personality, but recognized his potential to embody the conflicted Cal Trask. Dean was cast in the role, and in April 1954, he left New York City for Los Angeles to begin filming. Dean's performance in East of Eden was marked by a remarkable spontaneity and emotional intensity. Many of his most memorable moments were unscripted, including his joyful dance in a bean field and his curled-up posture atop a train car. The most famous improvised scene occurs when Cal's father rejects his gift of $5,000, money Cal had earned by speculating in beans before World War I. Instead of reacting as the script dictated, Dean instinctively embraced his on-screen father in a tearful hug. Kazan, recognizing the raw emotion of the moment, kept the scene in the film, and it became one of Dean's most iconic moments. Dean's portrayal of Cal foreshadowed his role as Jim Stark in Rebel Without a Cause. Both characters are angsty and misunderstood, desperately seeking their father's approval. This deep understanding of teenage angst and rebellion resonated with audiences, making Dean a symbol of youthful disillusionment and a cultural icon. East of Eden was a critical and commercial success, and Dean's performance earned him a posthumous Academy Award nomination for Best Actor in 1956, the first official posthumous acting nomination in Oscar history. It was a bittersweet recognition of his talent, as he had tragically passed away in a car accident just months before the film's release. Following the success of East of Eden, James Dean landed another iconic role as Jim Stark in the 1955 film Rebel Without a Cause. This film, which perfectly captured the angst and alienation of teenagers in the 1950s, cemented Dean's status as a cultural icon. Determined to avoid being typecast as a rebellious teen, Dean then took on the role of Jet Rink in the epic drama Lan Tri Chu Giant. This film, released posthumously in 1956, spanned several decades in the lives of Texan ranchers, with Dean playing a ranch hand who strikes it rich when oil is discovered on his land. To portray the older version of his character, Dean even dyed his hair gray and shaved some of it off to create a receding hairline. Giant would sadly be Dean's final film. In a poignant twist of fate, the last scene he filmed was the infamous Last Supper scene, where his character delivers a drunken speech at a banquet. Dean, committed to his method acting approach, insisted on actually being drunk for the scene. However, his slurred speech was so unintelligible that the director, George Stevens, had to have the scene redubbed by another actor after Dean's untimely death. Despite his short career, Dean's impact on cinema was undeniable. He received a second posthumous Academy Award nomination for his role in Giant, further solidifying his legacy as a talented and unforgettable actor. He had been slated to star as the boxer Rocky Graziano in the film Somebody Up There Likes Me, and he was also set to work with director Nicholas Ray on a film called Heroic Love. However, these projects were cut short by his tragic death in a car accident on September 30th, 1955. Although Dean never got to see the success of Giant or fulfill his other promising roles, his legacy lives on. He remains a symbol of youthful rebellion and a beloved icon of Hollywood's golden age. James Dean's perceived experimental approach to life, which included his ambivalent sexuality, has earned him the status of a sexual icon. He was even voted the greatest male gay icon by readers of the Gay Times. When asked about his sexual orientation, Dean famously replied, "No, I am not a homosexual, but I'm also not going to go through life with one hand tied behind my back." Journalist Joe Hyams suggests that any same-sex encounters Dean may have had were purely for professional gain, a way to further his career. Some point to his relationship with Rogers Brackett as evidence of this. William Bast even referred to Dean as Brackett's kept boy, and found a disturbing drawing in Dean's sketchbook depicting a lizard with Brackett's head. Brackett himself described their relationship as complex, acknowledging a father-son dynamic with hints of something more intimate. James Bella, a friend of Dean's from UCLA, also shared his perspective, stating that Dean was a user who would do anything to advance his career. Bella even recalled Dean mentioning a summer spent as a professional house guest on Fire Island, a known haven for gay men at the time. Actor Mark Rydell offered a similar view, stating that Dean wasn't necessarily homosexual, but had very big appetites that he wasn't afraid to explore. John Gilmore, a close friend and fellow motorcycle enthusiast, claimed that he and Dean experimented with gay sex multiple times in New York. He described their encounters as bad boys playing bad boys while opening up the bisexual sides of ourselves, later stating that he believed Dean was more gay than bisexual. The question of Dean's sexuality isn't a simple one. Even Nicholas Ray, the director of Rebel Without a Cause, said that Dean swung both ways. This suggests that Dean's sexuality was complex and fluid, not easily categorized into a single label. Martin Landau, a close friend of Dean's from the Actors Studio, added another perspective, stating that Dean was not suicidal, despite rumors to the contrary. This suggests that Dean's life was more than just a tragic story of a troubled star seeking a way out. Martin Landau, a close friend of Dean's, firmly denied the gay rumors, stating that they often discussed girls and their aspirations with women during their time together. He emphasized that Dean was in his early 20s, a time of exploration and curiosity for many young men. However, Elizabeth Taylor, another close friend and co-star from Giant, referred to Dean as gay during a speech at the GLAAD Media Awards in 2000, along with Montgomery Clift and Rock Hudson. This public statement added fuel to the speculation surrounding Dean's sexuality. When questioned about Dean's orientation by openly gay journalist Kevin Sessoms for POZ magazine, Taylor provided a more nuanced perspective. She said, "He hadn't made up his mind. He was only 24 when he died. But he was certainly fascinated by women. He flirted around. He and I twinkled." This suggests that Dean's sexuality might have been fluid and still evolving at the time of his death. Meanwhile, James Dean had a need for speed that extended beyond the silver screen. He was passionate about sports cars and racing. And in September 1955, he finally acquired his dream car, a Porsche Spyder. This sleek and powerful machine was a rare find, with only 5 of them existing in the US at the time. It boasted a 110 horsepower engine and could go from 0 to 60 mph in under 7 seconds, making it a true speed demon for its time. Dean affectionately nicknamed his new Porsche Little Bastard, a moniker that would become infamous in the annals of Hollywood history. But the car's nickname wasn't just for show. It soon lived up to its reputation, causing problems for the young actor. In just 1 week, Dean had 2 minor accidents with the Little Bastard, suggesting that he needed more time to familiarize himself with the car's power and handling. However, he was eager to compete in an upcoming race in Salinas, California, a 300-mile drive from his home in Los Angeles. While most racers would have transported their prized vehicles on trailers, Dean decided to drive the Little Bastard to the event, hoping to get more practice behind the wheel. It was a risky decision, but Dean was never one to shy away from danger. Around 2:00 p.m. on that fateful Friday, September 30th, 1955, James Dean and his crew fueled up and hit the road, ready to race in Salinas. Dean, accompanied by Porsche mechanic Rolf Vutherick, zoomed off in the Little Bastard, while his teammates followed in a station wagon, hauling an empty trailer. The excitement was short-lived, though. At 3:30 p.m. near Mettler, California, the caravan was pulled over by the California Highway Patrol for speeding. Both drivers received tickets, a minor setback in their journey to the race. A couple of hours later, the team made a pit stop at Blackwell's Corner, where they refueled, grabbed some refreshments, and chatted with fellow racers. With their spirits high and their engines revving, they set off for their final destination, planning to regroup for dinner in Paso Robles. As the sun began to set, the Little Bastard cruised along Route 466 at around 60 miles per hour. At the same time, a 1950 Ford Tudor, driven by a 23-year-old college student named Donald Turnipseed, was heading east on the same road. Turnipseed approached the junction with Route 41, intending to make a left turn. He slowed down, checked for oncoming traffic, and started his turn. But in a split second, everything changed. Turnipseed spotted a small silver car speeding towards him. The Little Bastard. As the fateful moment approached, a question hung in the air. Is this guy gonna let us pass? Moments later, the answer became tragically clear. With a desperate cry of, "Hold on," James Dean swerved the little bastard in a last-ditch attempt to avoid the oncoming Ford Tudor. But it was too late. The two cars collided in a devastating head-on crash. Why didn't Turnipseed see Dean's Porsche in time? Several factors contributed to this fatal misjudgment. First and foremost, the sun was low on the horizon, casting a blinding glare across Turnipseed's windshield. It was only 45 minutes until sunset, and the intense light made it difficult for him to see clearly, especially smaller objects. And Dean's Porsche Spyder was indeed unusually small compared to the bulky cars of the 1950s. It was a low-slung sports car, barely visible next to the likes of a Chevrolet Bel Air or a Ford Tudor. Plus, its silver color blended in with the grayish asphalt, making it even harder to spot in the fading light. In those days, drivers didn't use their headlights until it was completely dark outside. So, with the sun glare obstructing his vision, Turnipseed simply didn't see the tiny silver Porsche speeding towards him. He slammed on the brakes and swerved to the right, but the collision was unavoidable. The impact was devastating, with the smaller Porsche taking the brunt of the damage. Miraculously, both Turnipseed and Vutherick, the mechanic riding with Dean, survived the crash. However, James Dean, the young star with a promising future, was tragically killed in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. He was just 24 years old. Contrary to popular belief, Dean wasn't speeding at the time of the accident. He was driving fast, but within the speed limit of 55 km/h. This was confirmed by the investigation into the crash, which analyzed the wreckage and the position of Dean's body. But even after James Dean's death, a darker and more mysterious tale surrounds the car he drove. After Dean's tragic death, the wreckage of the little bastard was purchased by George Barris, a renowned car customizer. He intended to use the parts to build a replica, but strange and unsettling events began to occur. One of the car's engines was used by Dr. William Eschrich in his own race car, which was later involved in a serious accident. Another surgeon, Dr. Troy McHenry, who borrowed parts from the wreckage for his car, was killed when he lost control and crashed into a tree. These chilling incidents fueled the legend of the cursed car. Barris also reported that people who touched the car at hot rod shows would mysteriously cut themselves. Even more disturbing, the car was said to have slipped off a transport truck, killing the driver and causing another person to break their hip after simply touching it. These unsettling events added to the mystique surrounding the little bastard, blurring the lines between reality and legend. But perhaps the most compelling evidence of the curse came from an encounter Dean had with fellow actor Alec Guinness just days before the fatal crash. In an interview, Guinness recalled meeting Dean and feeling an overwhelming sense of foreboding. He even warned Dean about the car, saying, "If you get in that car, you will be found dead in it by this time next week." This chilling prediction, coupled with the strange occurrences surrounding the little bastard, has led many to believe that the car was indeed cursed. William Bast, a screenwriter, was one of James Dean's closest friends, a fact acknowledged by Dean's family. They had been roommates at UCLA and later in New York, sharing a bond that lasted throughout the final 5 years of Dean's life. While at UCLA, Dean dated actress Beverly Wills and classmate Jeanette Lewis, often double dating with Bast. Wills eventually broke up with Dean after an incident at a party where she danced with another man, causing Dean to become jealous and angry. Bast, who was also Dean's first biographer, remained tight-lipped about the true nature of their relationship for many years. However, in 2006, he finally confirmed that he and Dean had been lovers on one occasion during a stay at a hotel in Borrego Springs. His book, Surviving James Dean, offered a more candid look at their complex and sometimes tumultuous relationship. In 1996, actress Liz Sheridan also shared her own story of a brief but intense romance with Dean in New York in 1952. She described it as magical and the first love for both of them. Sheridan even published her memoir, Dizzy and Jimmy: My Life with James Dean, a love story, in 2000, further illuminating Dean's romantic life. During his time in New York City, James Dean's love life continued to be as captivating as his career. He dated actress Barbara Glenn for 2 years, their relationship marked by passionate moments and frequent breakups. Their whirlwind romance even led to a collection of love letters that were later sold at auction for a hefty sum. But Dean's love life wasn't just about serious relationships. After signing with Warner Brothers, the studio's PR machine went into overdrive, creating stories about his supposed flings with various young actresses. This publicity stunt aimed to boost his image as a Hollywood heartthrob, portraying him as an eligible bachelor who hadn't yet found the right woman. However, one relationship stood out from the rest: his romance with Italian actress Pier Angeli. They met on the Warner Brothers lot while filming their respective movies, and their connection was intense and passionate. They exchanged jewelry as tokens of their love, and their time together was filled with secret getaways to secluded beaches and deep conversations about life, death, and everything in between. Angeli later described their relationship as like Romeo and Juliet, together and inseparable. They were young and in love, completely absorbed in each other's company. Their romance was a whirlwind of emotions, filled with stolen moments and a deep understanding of each other's souls. However, this passionate love story was not destined for a happy ending. Angeli's strict Catholic mother disapproved of Dean's rebellious nature and non-Catholic background. Under pressure from her family and the studio, Angeli broke off the relationship with Dean, leaving him heartbroken and devastated. James Dean was smitten with Pier Angeli, and their whirlwind romance was filled with passion and intensity. In his own words, Dean found everything about her beautiful, especially her soul. He admired her natural grace and her genuine nature, a stark contrast to the artifice and pretension he often encountered in Hollywood. However, their love story faced numerous obstacles. Angeli's devoutly Catholic mother disapproved of Dean's rebellious lifestyle, his casual attire, his fast cars, and his drinking habits. She saw him as a bad influence on her daughter, and she pressured Angeli to end the relationship. Warner Brothers, Dean's studio, also tried to discourage him from marrying Angeli, fearing it would tarnish his image as a heartthrob. Dean himself told Angeli that he wasn't ready for marriage, further complicating their relationship. Despite these challenges, those close to them believed that their love was deep and genuine. Richard Davalos, Dean's co-star in East of Eden, claimed that Dean did want to marry Angeli and was even willing to raise their children as Catholics. This contradicts the notion that Dean was solely focused on his career and saw Angeli as a mere fling. A touching discovery after Dean's death seemed to confirm the depth of his feelings for Angeli. Among his personal belongings, a pamphlet for a marriage ceremony was found with the name Pier, written in pencil everywhere the bride's name was supposed to be. This simple yet poignant detail suggests that Dean had considered marrying Angeli, despite the obstacles they faced. While some, like William Bast and Paul Alexander, believe the relationship between James Dean and Pier Angeli was a publicity stunt orchestrated by the studio, others saw it as a genuine love story. Elia Kazan, the director of East of Eden, doubted Dean's ability to attract women, but he did recall hearing passionate encounters between Dean and Angeli in Dean's dressing room. Kazan also mentioned Dean's uncertain relations with girlfriends, suggesting a more complex picture of his romantic life. Angeli herself only spoke once about their relationship, describing romantic meetings at the beach. However, Dean's biographer, John Howlett, questioned the accuracy of these accounts, suggesting they might be idealized memories. While filming East of Eden, Dean took a short trip to New York, during which Angeli unexpectedly announced her engagement to singer Vic Damone. This news shocked the press and angered Dean. Gossip columns even claimed that Dean watched the wedding from afar on his motorcycle, revving the engine during the ceremony. However, Dean denied these rumors, calling them dumb. Joe Hyams, another of Dean's biographers, claimed that he witnessed Angeli leaving Dean's home in tears, with Dean confiding that she was pregnant and potentially carrying his child. Angeli later divorced Damone and her second husband, but in her final years, she reportedly told friends that Dean was the love of her life. Sadly, she passed away from a barbiturate overdose in 1971 at the age of 39. Dean's romantic life wasn't limited to Angeli. He also dated Swiss actress Ursula Andress, who was often seen riding on the back of his motorcycle and in his sports cars. She was even with him on the day he bought the fateful Porsche Spyder that would lead to his untimely death. James Dean's love life, like his acting career, was short but intense. His relationships were marked by passion, heartbreak, and a sense of longing for connection. While the true nature of his sexuality and the depth of his feelings for Pier Angeli remain a mystery, his love story with her continues to captivate and intrigue fans, adding another layer to the enigmatic legend of James Dean.